chance to, as a membership organisation, kind of have a bit of dialogue around the past, the present and the future around the theme of shaping change. And as Brooke said, this team doesn't really need an introduction. So this time last year, we sat in a room in Adelaide and asked ourselves the question, what are the things that we should be focused on? And this was the discussion that we had together last year. Focus on advocacy, focus on regulation, focus on education. And so I might, Nick, hand to you first and go, this is where we started last year. Perhaps reflect on the progress that we've made over the last 12 months.
Thanks, Richard, and good afternoon, everyone. I think we've made a lot of progress, and I guess you'd expect me to say that, but it's true. Not so long ago, having a discussion around the board table, heading into an election. It was the time that we'd had the Banking Royal Commission, and there was talk around brokers losing commissions. So it was a board that's obviously mission critical to us. And we went around, well, who knows politician? Who can we reach out to politically as they are the key stakeholders in this particular conversation? And that really got us on the path we're on now, where we've built the resources and we've built the connections, and importantly, we've built the respect. And hopefully you saw that with the video Richard did with the Minister, Dr. Molino. We had the shadow, Pat Conahan, this morning. But more broadly speaking, when you look at the last 12 months, Richard, WA workers has been an issue. It was pretty uncoordinated response that was going on there, but NIBA were able to do that, build that relationship with WA WorkCover. Brett Piggott, NIBA director, did a lot of work bringing all the stakeholders together on the broking side. And then move further east across to New South Wales, and with workers' comp changes in the New South Wales workers' comp, Richard Beck and Tim Wedlock did a wonderful job, and I'd recommend anyone have a look at it, how well the guys did. But we've also had meetings on strata, and now we're having those larger meetings, and you've heard over the last couple of days around shaping our future, around the regulatory demands we have on us as a sector, and working with the government and opposition, who have both said that they are looking to reduce red tape. The thing that we can't lose sight of is what the client expects from us, both on probity and delivery. So, Richard, when I look at this, certainly the number one in the middle there is advocacy. 12 months, we've seen a lot of progress, which has been absolutely instrumental. And I can see regulation there and a number of other things that tie in with it. So just focusing on that key one, I think we've made great progress.
Amazing, thank you. Beck, what's been the highlight for you over the last 12 months?
Look, I think the highlight for me has definitely been the amount of interaction that we have had with government, in particular with iCare and New South Wales Workers' Comp. For those that are based in New South Wales or have clients that are based in New South Wales, to give you a bit of background, we've been working with iCare and CIRA for at least 8 years with pretty much zero change. They are now looking at making change within the legislation. However, we're not sure that it's the right change, but we certainly had a seat in Parliament House in Sydney. But I think the thing that excites me the most is when you actually look at what we've been doing on that advocacy piece. You know, Nick mentioned WA Workers' Comp, but at a federal level, we've been working with the Queensland government on floods. Sorry, at the federal level, we've been talking to them about the Queensland floods. NIBA's joined South Australia Business Chamber. And then just last Friday, we were talking and actually had lunch with the Tasmanian Premier regarding TasInsure. And if you look at that, that's a handful of things that we as NIBA have been doing. But certainly from that point of view, I think there's a lot that has been achieved. When we talk about what does NIBA do, that advocacy and representation has been really fierce this year, which is great.
Beck, just you've helped walk the halls of the New South Wales Parliament I remember a signature meeting with Minister Sophie Kotzis,
Yes.
and you appeared, as Nick said, before the committee. I mean, what's your sense when you're talking to politicians with your multiple hats on? What's the sense you get from them when you're in front of them about how they understand the role of broker and the value that we bring to the table?
I think it's been a learning curve for them. I don't think that they had a full understanding or appreciation what brokers, workers' comp is not a commission-based product or scheme. I think they were quite surprised at how much we did know. The good news after Tim and I went to the inquiry was that the final comment was finally some common sense. The bad news is that came from Mark Latham. So we sort
Can't have everything.
yeah, you can't have everything. But and it did kick off with Mark up just after that inquiry. So we're still in a bit of a holding pattern with that. But the exciting piece is we have made progress. The other part was seeing Minister Kotzis and seeing Damien Tudorhope and the likes of Mark Latham, Taylor Martin. They are interested. It's just getting in the door. And again, exciting times that we've been able to achieve that this year.
Gary, we started this conversation kind of last year when we invited Council House into the conversation. I mean, as you reflect on the early meetings that we had, reflect on Nick's comment around, it was like, who did you know, as opposed to what's the game plan? What's your reflection on the game plan and the progress that we've made?
I think we've made significant progress in this area. It's all about staying in the game to me. We were in the game almost I go back a while in the NIBA board, but we started in the game talking to the bureaucrats. We changed the dynamic to start talking to politicians, and I think that's where we need to be to advocate. They drive. They're an interesting bunch always. Nick and Rich are off speed dating in Canberra in a week and a half's time, where you just run between officers in there. But it's really valuable when you're on their turf, and the way to do that is to get known, continue down that road, and just keep going. Just reflecting on some time again at the World Federation of Insurance Intermediaries conference in Washington. The US broker association is called the Confederation of Insurance Brokers. I think that's what they're called. Anyway, they are basically in Washington. That's where their office is, and all they do is advocate with politicians. Now, none of us probably want to deal with US politics, but the reality is that's what they do. They do magazines and they do events, but principally they're there to advocate, and they just live that dream every day. They've got two people, they're senior people. One is on this side and one is on that side. They have some interesting discussions in those meetings, debating each other. But it was really intriguing. We had some presentations from politicians, how they work the Senate, how they work their House of Reps, all those things. So it was a good takeaway from me, just to say we just got to keep on the journey, keep using experts. I think we need to make sure our team at NIBA is strong, both at the board level but also at the administrative level, to make sure we keep the journey going. Because if you duck in and out, you lose momentum significantly. There's going to be change. There always is change in politics, and I think we just have to be that voice. And I just reflect on a conversation I had. You saw, if you're in the room, saw Scott Phillips from local government. I had a conversation with the Local Government Association Queensland and 4 mayors from the southwestern region of councils out that way about affordability and availability insurance just last Friday. And we were talking about what brokers do and how the insurance industry works, and affectionately known as a country mayor, Truck Ferguson, basically says to me, where have you guys been for the last 3 years? Why don't we know about your story? So we've got a long way to go, but the reality is we just got to keep on the journey, in my view, just to keep plugging the great work we'll do, keep the message high, keep strong. We are the voice of clients. We are the voice of consumers. And I think it's a great opportunity for us in the room to keep that going.
Absolutely. I think when you say speed dating with Canberra, these two will be speed dating in the first week of November with 11 meetings in one day. So that's the amount of work that they're doing there.
Yeah. Nick, I might just go to you. Gary mentioned the World Federation, which is a global organization which we're affiliated with. What were some of the really key insights we got out of the Washington trip earlier this year?
Yeah, but just for context, the World Federation of Insurance Intermediaries brings together all the broking associations from around the world, literally. You have South Americans, as Gary said, the Europeans, the English, wherever there is a broker association, they come together at the WFII. And the purpose is to arrive at really what are the big issues facing broking globally. Cyber is very much top of mind, and the impact of AI. It was interesting when we ran our research post the WFII meeting earlier this year. So AI came out strongly, as you've seen over the last couple of days. And as well as regulation, it is the overburdening of regulation, not just the time, but also the cost, and also that too much regulation is actually not conducive to supporting the consumer. It's actually pushing the consumer away. So that's one of our challenges, both WFII and here, is how to ensure that there's a regulatory structure. However, it is one that clients you can bring on the journey and they totally understand the role that intermediaries play and the value they add to their businesses and personal lives.
Fantastic, folks. You can see what's going on the screen, and you can see the big words and the thematics. And I guess, you know, education, AI, advice, growth, efficiency, relationships, technology, big opportunities as we head into 2026 and beyond. We're going to capture this, and I think at a board level, obviously have a good discussion about how do we frame up our areas of focus, allocate our resources, put in some key measurables. Obviously, some of them have come out of the research already, some we're already starting to think about, but I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of things on here for us to get thoughtful about. So thank you for being involved in that. We'll come back in a moment and we'll ask a separate question, but I just wanted to change pace and change themes. If the first conversation was around progress and areas of focus, let's talk about the code, which turned up on that previous slide. And Di, we're going to go to you first. Code is a huge, as Nick said in his opener, a kind of huge opportunity. It's a huge statement for the sector. Just perhaps tell us a bit about where we're tracking, how we're tracking, and perhaps reflect on how we went from last time to this time.
Thanks, Richard. I think I'll start by just saying that we've taken on board some of the lessons that we learnt from the last code review. I think appointing Phil as the independent code reviewer was a really good move. And I think one of the big changes that we made and we spoke quite in depth about was the method of communication with all stakeholders. So one of the big things that changed this time is whilst we asked for submissions, which last time was the only consultation sort of feedback, Phil did a number of round tables, and there's probably a number of people in this room, or hopefully there's a number of people in this room that attended those. He was quite happy to have face-to-face meetings with individuals, phone calls with individuals, because it was really important to get as much stakeholder feedback about the current code and what people would like to see that they think was going to drive that journey of self-regulation as we went on. So when we get to the current position, currently the board has draft feedback from Phil about all of the submissions. If any of you, there is a website, and I would encourage you to go to the website and have a look. Some of the submissions are public, some are confidential. They put in confidential submissions, which we were happy to do. But the draft feedback that we've got does indicate that further consultation will be needed with stakeholders. As Nick alluded to yesterday, nobody's going to get everything that they want. It will be very much a collaboration with all stakeholders about what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So I would encourage everyone, if you haven't put feedback in as we go through the journey, do take notice. I mean, NIBA is putting out a lot of communication, asking for things, asking for calls to action. When we do that, it's because we want to hear from you. And we want to hear from you, as many of you as possible that have a view, because You can't, if you stay silent, silent is consent, right? So there'll be a point in time when it will be too late for you to actually put your feedback in. So I'd encourage people to continue to do that as we go through the process. Because there is a need for further consultation, I think that's one thing the board has recognised. We're going to take our time, right? And one of the important things that you've talked about in the last couple of days is the Insight program. So in that, we've got client engagement, and client engagement is going to be critical in this process because we actually need to ensure that the code is fit for purpose for our clients. That is one of the most important things. And as I spoke about when I was president, like we are the one part of the insurance chain that actually acts for the consumer. And that's what we do day in, day out. So again, in that program, if we're looking for client feedback and encouraging you to get your clients to give us feedback, please do. Because client opinion, what clients need from us and what they want from us is critical to ensuring the code is fit for purpose, that it's fit for purpose for our clients and also our members.
You're absolutely right, Diane. Just if I can have 30 seconds. I kicked off yesterday by saying the change we're going through, technology, generational, regulatory. It would be remiss of us as a NIBA board just to treat this code review as an iterative process, just to kind of polish up and a couple of tweaks. What we need to do, as Di has said, is really understand what are the client's expectations of brokers and how can we ensure our code is fit for purpose to achieve those goals. And if that takes time, if that takes consultation, then that's something we'll be doing.
Perhaps the question to both of you, and I'll come to you, Gary. In many ways, it's a trust and confidence conversation. I welcome, of course, as we've had all conference, the IBCCC committee, Oscar, Daniela, David, and Drew, and big welcome to you folks. But it is a trust and confidence opportunity and exercise, isn't it, Nick?
Absolutely. This is our opportunity, Richard. And, one of the things we're looking around is how regularly we review the code. So it's important that we do get this particular review right, but we're probably not at that point to go a whole lot broader at the moment.
Di?
Yeah, I'll just echo those words. I think it is critically important, and the voice of the client has never been more important. We've heard a lot over the last couple of days about the levels of regulation. We don't want the code to be looked at to be another level of regulation and compliance. That's not what it's about. It's about members being able to use the code as a guide to professionalism. It is about our clients being able to go to the code and know what the expectations are, and also go to the code when things go wrong, as they inevitably will, because we've got the human element, which is always going to be critical in our profession. And so things are going to go wrong. Client thinks it goes wrong, they should be able to go to the code. The way we advertise, promote the code as members of NIBA is going to be more critical than ever, I think, as we move forward.
Correct. Gary?
I think we are going to do what Nick and Di have said, take a little time to take a deep breath. But let's not lose the fact we have to be aspiration a little bit as well here. The code has to do us well into the future. We're not just looking at what it's done in the past. We'll look at what's worked, but to some degree we will be looking forward, and we appreciate feedback again on that, because if we stand still, like a lot of things, you get overrun. So the reality is we have to look forward, we have to listen, but it has to be fit for purpose for you, but importantly for all of our clients. And the different things that we do, from the 5-person brokerage AR network right up to the larger international firms and across the whole spectrum of brokers that exist. And I think that's part of our challenge, is to make sure we make something fit for purpose for everybody. So that's why the feedback from clients who are dealing with the 5-person AR network through to the internationals is really critical to get. So that leads our aspiration, that helps us look forward, and helps us give clarity back to you and to others who will be looking at the code.
And
Nick,
Sorry, I was going to say that's a great point that you make, because it has to be understood the diversity of the way our members are made up from the very small to the very large and everything in between in different models, AR models, corporate authorised reps. There is a lot of diversification in our members, and so therefore we need to ensure that everything about the code is able to be implemented by everybody.
So let's just pick up that theme, because I recall having the conversation with AFCA, Prue in particular, and her guidance was really important for this. One was appoint an independent reviewer of substance and reputation. Two, engage your members widely, often and regularly. And third, don't bind yourself to times so that you rush to an end if you haven't done 1 and 2. Nick, perhaps a question to you just about bringing people on the journey and to that diversity of business model that sits inside NIBA. How do we make sure that everyone in this room and outside of this room kind of is on that journey and that everyone's kind of had a chance to have that say?
Well, communication and transparency is the key, and that sounds cliched, so let me make it a bit more practical. You've seen that we've updated the NIBA website. It's much more approachable, much more searchable, but also our communications have become more frequent and hopefully detailed enough for you. But for me, going back to the first question about what we've done over the last 12 months, is we've really started to focus on having sessions with brokers wherever they might be. And they are meeting with the board and the board at different locations. But I'm particularly pleased in picking up Di's point about distribution, which is now more regionally diverse and spread, that we're now moving into the regions. We've done Newcastle, Wollongong, we've gone through regional Victoria and meeting with the Queensland committee round about the Gala lunchtime, looking at what we can do in the great state of Queensland. So for me, that's going to be key, because to Di's also point, silence is consent. We need to hear from you. And I'll be honest, we got less submissions to the code review on that first pass than we were probably expecting. And the opinions were diverse, and that's cool. That's what it's about. But it makes it difficult for us to kind of form a way forward when we're not getting your voice. So we'll put the framework in place, both digitally, face-to-face. But please, if I can ask you of anything over this next period, is engage with us. Reach out to any of the board. You're represented by all the major groups. You're represented by each state. So please have that voice, and we can hear it, and then we start to plug it in to everything we're doing.
Fantastic. Thank you, Beck. Was there anything you wanted to jump in on this?
No, I think it's all being said.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Now, Di, I'm mindful that you've got special business to attend to, given the next session coming up. So on behalf of all of us here, a thank you for your contribution.
Thank you. I'll see you all shortly.
And folks, I'm going to go to our next question, which will then word cloud. We spoke about what's the one big opportunity. Let's now ask the question, what's the biggest challenge that you're facing in your business? Just a one-worder, and we'll get that up. And whilst that's coming up, thought I might open the discussion on some of the thematics that have come out of Ready or Reacting, the research that we launched yesterday. Beck, happy to start with you. I mean, what was your initial take on some of those big 8 issues and some of the gaps that turned up?
I guess the main thing is technology for me. I think that's one of the biggest issues that we're facing as a profession as a whole. I noticed on the word bubble that AI, it's come up many, many times. We had the session earlier on cyber and AI, and my take on that, which we could add as another key factor, is not just AI as artificial intelligence. How do we actually prepare for AI? So going through the thought process in the session earlier today, we're talking about, hey, we need licenses. We don't want to use public AI. And go, great, that makes sense. But if you look at organizations, if you look at groups, have we actually formulated AI-specific policies? So we all have a technology policy saying that, hey, we own the data, we own your emails, we own this, we own that. But how you're going to use AI and how you're going to present it to your client is something that, by all means, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know that we've thought sensibly enough about the practicality of using AI within our businesses. So I think that practical piece is a key factor.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, the Big 8 challenges are almost a roadmap for almost what to do next and what to focus on next and what next year's agenda order could be considered.
I think it's a AI and anything that comes with it moving forward is opportunity versus risk decision making.
Yeah,
I think they said that this morning in the session. So if it sounds like I ripped it off someone, I did. But yeah, I think it's important to consider that.
folks, let's just have a quick unpack of the keywords. Love.
I love how love has come up both times prominently.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's awesome. Regulation, people, technology, compliance, reputation, uncertainty, disruption, retention. Interesting to see this thematics and also the research coming up in a pretty strong match and overlay. But again, some really interesting things for consideration and contemplation. Gary, anything on the screen strikes you as particularly standout?
Love.
Love.
Love, succession, people. It's all good. This isn't really staff. Anyway.
That's love or love compliance, actually.
Yeah, well,
I don't think it's love compliance.
Let's just stick with love.
Just look. I mean, challenge is reputation. I'm interested in reputation. I think that's just an interesting one. I think if we do what we say we're going to do with clients, reputation should look after itself. Again, there's got to be a cross section of good people. There's got to be a cross section of technology. There's got to be some cross section of compliance. But I think we are in a good place from a reputational perspective as the voice of clients and the advocates of consumers. So I'm interested in that.
I might just jump into something different if I can,
Yeah.
which actually comes on here around reputation, but also out of ready or reacting. And that's kind of like the changing role of broker as strategic advisor. You spoke very clearly on that this morning on the panel. I mean, how do you see the next 10 years playing out as brokers kind of transform from today's model into the future model?
I think it comes up in there somewhere too about direct market as a challenge. I feel that get the technology right, we become. I think it's a great opportunity to me because we can be the advisors, we can be trusted, and as I think I said yesterday, the insurance is a complex service and products. It's a piece of paper that says this is going to deliver when something goes horribly wrong, and I think to buy that online without any expertise, I think is pretty challenging for any individual to be able to do. But I understand the ease by which that happens. So that's where the reputational things suffer. And if I look back over the flood inquiry that Dr. Molino did, that was pretty much aimed at the direct market, not necessarily the broker-led market in small business and domestic. So we will always see in those big events some spike in regards to complaints, some spike in regards to matters that may be referred to the IBCCC, and the code compliance. But the reality is that's just a scale issue. We were at the minor end of that, so it plays into reputation a little bit. Look, 10 years down the road, I think if we stick to our course, we advocate for what we're good at, I do think we'll become more of an advisor, strategic risk advisor, as opposed to the transacting broker. There will always be broking transactions that actually underpin our advice, majority of the time. But the reality is the first part is advice and strategy. And how do you, I think we said that the chap that came with Aon's client here said exactly the same thing, Peter. I think that this morning, he wants advice. He wants someone to come and talk to him. He doesn't want to read emails. He wanted someone. So he's got a small business himself and he wanted that. So I think there's really a strategic input face-to-face with technology support is probably where I see us continuing to evolve. And the slides you put up around market share with premium and our share of the market growing year on year, I see that as still an emerging opportunity. When markets go hard, guess what they need? They need proper advice. When markets are softer, guess what? They need proper advice. Because at the end of the day, the price is only part of what the product's really about. And I think that's where our claim support comes together as well.
Fantastic. Nick, I'm going to go to you just for any observations on the ready or reacting report and what that might mean for us. And I'm just cueing we're just going to have a quick look at a video just after you answer. So yeah, any thoughts?
So the ready and reacting report, and you saw the data put up this morning, but for me, this really is our roadmap. It is the voice of this group here and our broader groups back at home around what is on your mind, but importantly, your level of preparedness. And just an example, regulation, AI technology. We're both in the late 80s, mid 80s insofar as this is an impact on us, but our level of preparedness was quite low, down around the 60s. So for the NIBA board and everything you've heard in this session, this is what starts to set the pathway for us. If this is important to you, then this is how we respond. This is the pathways we take, whether it's education, whether it's product innovation, whether it's consolidation. We'll work through each of those 8 points. There's a lot more of that research, as Richard spoke to this morning in his session, to come on this. So a really important piece, but what it provides us with, and as we spoke about with the code and all those different pieces, we need the research. We need the proof points that let us know that we're on the right path or set us on the path we should be taking.
Thanks, Nick. Folks, there's been a lot of other work take place inside NIBA the last 12 months. We just want to give you a little sneaky peek, and let's just play the tape.
Welcome to your NIBA. It is bold, future-focused, and built on more than 4 decades of championing the broking profession. For more than 40 years, NIBA members have led the broking profession through uncertainty and change. From the rise of cyber threats and AI to the mounting challenges of climate change and extreme weather, insurance brokers have stepped up when it matters most. Learning from this legacy and today's challenges, the NIBA board crafted our current strategy by listening to what matters most, you. That insight led to a clear, bold direction and shaping change. When we unite as a community, we thrive. You will have seen that we launched the New Look NIBA in July this year. Now we continue to shape change with the New Look NIBA website. Due to be launched in November, this will be refreshed with access to new features that members will be able to sign up to at niba.com.au. The New Look NIBA website will be launching soon. Members should keep an eye out for your member registration email coming direct to your inbox. NIBA is evolving, and that innovation is driven by you. This is just the beginning. Welcome to the future of NIBA.
So folks, look out for much more to come before the end of the year. In closing this particular session, I'm just about to hand over to Nick, but hopefully you've got a bit of an insight and certainly a sense that the board listens, the board is listening, your feedback is critical, whether it's in this room or outside of this room, we're always available, we're always listening. And what we want to make sure is that NIBA steps into the issues and the opportunities that kind of matter in this room, matter to our clients, and matter ultimately to the people that we serve. And on behalf of all of us here, a big thank you, not only to the exec, but to the board who give huge amount of time. Thank you.
Folks, before we close this session, it's sadly the last NIBA conference that we will have Gary Oakley as part of the NIBA board. Gary has been and continues in the insurance broking, but in respect to NIBA board, this will be the last opportunity we have with Gary. So I thought, if you don't mind, Gary, I'm interested in your reflection on your time. You've been president. You've helped me immensely as the immediate past president to me coming in. It's been wonderful working with you. But I'm interested in your reflections on NIBA as you start heading to the last lap of the year.
Well, I'm looking forward to being out there next year, not so much up here. For those that are about to be considered or have been considered as a Broker of the Year contender, my journey started with winning the South Australian Broker of the Year, which Zurich was sponsor for at the time. I think Nick, you may have even been in Adelaide with Anthony Garner at the time. So for my sins of winning the state award in South Australia, Stephen Ball at the time said, I've been on the NIBA board long enough. I've done my time. You're our new rep. So that was my introduction to the NIBA board. Very fast, and I didn't really know what to think or expect. So turned up at a board meeting, listened. Dallas Booth was the CEO at the time. David Duffield was on the board, who's now on the IBCCC. And the thing I take away is the amazing people. It's truly a great privilege to be on that board, because you lead your industry in a very strange way, because I never thought I'd be in that position to do that, and so it's quite proud to be president. You've caught me, bastard. But yeah, look, I think we just give back, and that's what this industry does a lot. And a lot of people do it in their own ways, different ways, etc. But for me,
Very proud. Can we thanks to Darren? Thanks, Jay.